already being pulled out, and he's being lynched. From these pictures, it appears no one else was on the bus, but we can't verify that, and the fate of the driver is unknown. The frenzy of anger continues right through the night into the early hours of Thursday. Across the bridge, pro-Mubarak supporters on the move again, seemingly intent on more confrontation. But it all goes wrong. A mob of anti-government protesters swelling in numbers and showing no mercy. Each of the 9 men are attacked. Revenge for the earlier violence in which many of their numbers were killed. Hatred. While some of the men are led away, beaten as they go, another was singled out. It hasn't been possible to establish how many victims of this night lived or died. This was all filmed by a European cameraman. He says 14 minutes later, there was yet another dimension to the violence. Gunfire on the bridge aimed at anti-government protesters. A laser picks out individuals. This round finds its target. It can't be established at this stage who fired these shots, just as it isn't possible to identify victims or their attackers. The questions over last Wednesday night, Thursday morning, linger. Andrew Simmons, Al Jazeera, Cairo.
Shocking images there. Well, Egyptian TV has shown President Mubarak meeting with members of his administration. His new cabinet was holding its first full meeting since the beginning of the uprising 2 weeks ago. On the streets, thousands of people took part in a symbolic funeral for a journalist who was killed during last week's violence. Jackie Rowland reports on day 14 of the protests.
The death of a reporter. Ahmed Mahmoud was shot and killed as he took photographs of the police beating demonstrators near Tahrir Square. Inside the building, the president of the journalist syndicate comes to speak to the widow. Suddenly, he is mobbed by an angry crowd, hounded out as a crony of Hosni Mubarak. Numerous journalists have been beaten up and detained in the last 2 weeks. The one man so far to pay with his life worked for a state Egyptian newspaper.
For Egyptian journalist, Ahmed Mahmoud is a martyr of this revolution. They're not only mourning his death, they're also demanding that President Mubarak is
Journalists' unions say Ahmed Mahmoud was deliberately targeted by the security forces. They want his killer put on trial.
We want justice for Ahmed Mahmoud. We want justice for all the people now in Tahrir Square and all Egypt. We want justice for this youth who bring this revolution, and someone want to steal it from them.
The marchers are now close to Tahrir Square. They reach the first barricade. The anti-government demonstrators are tense. They fear that Mubarak supporters may be trying to pass. But the procession is allowed through.
On Wednesday, hundreds of young men were killed by the horses and the weapons. And I was there, I saw them. So it is not just one shaheed, hundreds of shuhada.
Ahmed Mahmoud, honoured on this day, is only one among hundreds who have died. And in Tahrir Square, the vigil continues. It will end, the people say, only when Hosni Mubarak steps down. Jackie Rowland, Al Jazeera, Cairo.
It is a historic day for Sudan and indeed all of Africa. Southern Sudan has voted overwhelmingly to break away from the north. Official results just released confirm that 98.83% backed secession. A new nation will be created on July the 9th.
The number of those who voted in favor of the unity, 44,488, and those who voted for secession, 3,792,518, with a percentage of 1.17%, 98.83% of the total valid votes.
Well, some hours before that announcement, we heard from Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir, who formally accepted the split to form a new state.
We have the results today. We warmly welcome them because they express the wish of the people of the South.
That's the president of the North, and despite the challenges ahead, residents in southern Sudan are pleased at the prospect of a new nation.
Me, as a citizen of southern Sudan, I'm really extremely happy because we are going to experience a new life. There will be no more oppression by the Arabs. We're going to be independent.
Yeah, for us, I'm feeling very happy because I know that this official one, it is just to inform the world that this one is done official.
Well, Sudan is currently Africa's biggest country, but on July the 9th, when southern Sudan breaks away from the north, that title will go to Algeria. No decision has been made on what the new nation will be called, nor has there been any resolution on who will get the disputed region of Abyei. It's oil-rich and prime agricultural real estate. The people of Abyei are yet to vote on who they want to be aligned with. At the moment, tribes there are allied to both the north and to the south. Harry Matassa has more now from Juba.
It was expected most Southerners would vote to separate from the North, but the overwhelming numbers of people who did so is amazing for people here in the South. It just shows how desperately and how urgently people here have wanted to split, and they voted for secession. The main hope for the people is that perhaps if they govern themselves, they will be able to develop a region that they feel has been neglected for many, many decades by officials in the North. It's going to be a huge challenge, a huge task for officials. Time may be against them. People here have high expectations. They want schools, they want hospitals, they want basic services like running water. This takes money, this takes help from the international community, but generally officials here are saying that they will do their best. They know they have a mammoth task ahead of them, and they're saying that with the support of the people, with the patience of the people, they hope that these outcomes can be achieved. On Monday night, there will be celebrations here in the South. People are already celebrating. It's a momentous occasion. It's a historic occasion, but on the backs of everyone's mind, they know that the road ahead will not be easy.
Now, the WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has been in court in the United Kingdom to fight extradition to Sweden over claims of sexual assault. His defence lawyer believes he will face a flagrant denial of justice if the prosecutor's request is granted. Here's Lawrence Lee.
Arriving at court, Julian Assange looked relaxed and less tense than he sometimes does, surrounded by high-profile celebrities, human rights supporters, and urged on by a group of young protesters who see the dark hand of the CIA behind this rape case. His team had tried to steal a march on the prosecutors by publishing his defence against the allegations online, all very WikiLeaks, and they sought to dismantle the extradition case. His defence team argues the Swedish prosecutor doesn't have the right to issue a European arrest warrant. They're concerned the trial would be held in secret with no chance of open justice. They also call it an abuse of process because Assange has offered himself for questioning but was turned down. They also argue Assange is the victim of illegal, corrupt behaviour by the Swedish prosecutors and that any extradition could lead to his deportation to the United States, where he could face the death penalty. The prosecution insists Assange did use violence in his sexual activities in Sweden and tried to play down fears that the case is a ruse to clear the way for an extradition to the United States. The defence team here have started to produce witnesses to try to undermine the extradition case against Julian Assange. Their first, a female retired Swedish judge who says she had more than 30 years' experience in criminal law. She said she regarded the prosecutor's evidence in Sweden against Assange as peculiar and malicious, and the prosecutor as having biased views against men. Yet when the prosecutor here tried to ask her questions, she suddenly found it very difficult to explain Swedish law in English, or even at times to understand some of the questions. Another witness suggested one of the alleged victims had changed her story.
48 hours after the crime, the alleged crime, she volunteered to become Julian Assange's personal press secretary. The story given to the police does not bring up those instances.
And Assange himself told the media he was feeling more confident, and so did his supporters.
5.5 months. We have been in a condition where a black box has been applied to my life. And on the outside of that black box has been written the word rape. That box is now, thanks to an open court process, being opened. And I hope over the next day we will see that that box is in fact empty and has nothing to do with the words that are on the outside of it.
I think that some of the evidence came through, which is a very good news, that the truth is